Okay, welcome to the Planting Seeds podcast. I'm Jeff Hilimire, and I have two of my good friends and I guess sometimes business partners, Adam Walker and Mickey Mellon. Adam, why don't you start? Tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Man, that's a difficult question. I'm Adam, husband, father of five, wearer of fedoras. I summarize what I do in a couple of categories. One is I've got a podcast company that creates marketing content, and the other is I do consulting for large digital transformation projects. And
Nice. All right, Mickey.
Hey, I'm Mickey. I'm a partner at GreenMellen. We're a much simpler situation than Adam. I only have 40% as many kids as he does to start, but we're a website and digital marketing shop. So yeah, we've been around about 16 years, called GreenMellen. Yeah, do all that kind of work.
40% as many kids.
Yeah.
That's the greatest statement I've ever heard. I love that.
You're making me do math too. I'm like, wait a minute, how
Yeah.
many is that?
That's the
Two
kind
out-
of
two
stuff
out
that
of
Mickey
five,
does. Mickey does.
Yeah.
You're at
fast
5, right?
math. Yeah,
You're at
he's
5.
fast.
Yeah, 2 out of 5. I did the math real quick.
That's right. That's right.
Magical.
So we are here to talk about something I guess you two know a lot about, I know nothing about, called the AI-driven leader. But before we do that, Adam is working on a really exciting project called Good Host. Adam, will you just tell what that is and what you're looking for right now?
Yeah, so Good Host is a project by 48 and 48, and it's going to be a marketing technology platform that is targeted for nonprofits and includes tons of things like website hosting, social media, marketing, scheduling, all kinds of other tools, CRM tools, email tools, all targeted towards nonprofits, all way cheaper than you can get out in other marketplaces, piecemealing it together all in one place with white glove service. And we're using that to help fund 48 and 48. So we're looking right now for nonprofits that want to sort of beta test it for us. That's kind of the goal.
Okay. And you're going to have to explain what 48 and 48 is.
Oh, yeah. Well, sorry. 48 and 48 is our nonprofit that you and I obviously co-founded back in 2015. And we host events to build 48 free nonprofit websites in 48 hours. And it's been amazing. And we're hopefully going to use Good Host to continue to fund it and build free nonprofit websites for thousands more nonprofits over the next 10 years.
That's right. That's right. Okay, good. So if anybody wants, I'll put in the show notes a way to get in touch with Adam. So if you've got a small nonprofit and you want to talk to him about Good Host for marketing, that's going to be the way to do it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. So sometimes when I do these podcasts, it's because I just want to learn from somebody. And I'm like, well, I ought to just record it. And this is one of those cases. So
So you don't want to read the book. You just want us to tell you about the book. That's the goal. This is like Blinkist for Jeff.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly. Because I don't think I'm going to want to read this book, the whole book. But
You're
I think
not.
the idea,
You're correct, yes.
I think, okay. But I think it's really interesting, just the snippets I've gotten. So I thought, all right, yes, exactly. This is Blinkist for me. So which of you wants to give a high level about maybe whoever found it first told the
That's
other?
a Mickey high level thing for sure.
Okay.
That's
Let's
very
go,
much a Mickey Mellon thing.
All right, so two things I took away from it. The main two overviews I got of the book are, one is using AI as your thought partner and you remain the thought leader. So many people just outsource their brain to AI in problematic ways a lot of times. So you're the boss. It says in the book a few times, like, remember, you are the boss. And so just treat it that way. The other thing it talks about a lot is reframing the question, how can I solve this problem, to how can AI help me solve this problem? So I've done that more and more too, where I have a problem, like, let me just try using AI to solve this problem. And sometimes it can, sometimes it can't, but it just gets you better in the mindset of like, oh, it's better for that thing and worse for the other. And just the other day, Adam and I were talking, I had a small little app I've done it in Excel before, but just trying to figure out when dates and times line up and stuff. And I was like, how can AI help me do this better? So I went to Lovable and built it in like 2 minutes. It was exactly what I needed with AI. Whereas before I tried to build it in a spreadsheet and I spent a half hour fiddling with it. And like, yeah, so instead of how do I solve this problem, how can AI help me solve this problem?
Adam, what do you have to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, this quote pretty well summarizes, I think, what you just said. He says, as your thought partner, AI can help clarify your thinking, enhance your decisions, structure communication, analyze data, challenge your biases, and narrow your focus. And to me, that is the best and highest use of AI, is exactly what it just talked about. Like, we all have this tendency to be like, oh, just craft this email for me. And it can do that. But when you say like, hey, here's the problem I'm trying to solve, here's the direction I'm thinking of going in, challenge my biases as I'm thinking through this and ask me one question at a time to help me think through this more holistically, it's a game-changing situation when you do that. So I think that was my biggest takeaway from the book.
I was going to say, one other thing he talks about more in his podcast than in the book, but is the CRIT framework, which is a way of just building better prompts, which I found fantastic. It's CRIT, context, role, interview, task. So you should have if you give a prompt to AI, of course, the longer the prompt, the better. I think Adam and I have already talked about this. Like, is there too long of a prompt? And I think really the answer is no. Like, the more you get it, just blather on. But most people, I think, are so good at doing short prompts with Google over the years that we are way too short. And so Crit kind of makes you do that. So context, you give it like, here's what's going on. Here's the situation. The role, you can ask AI to be a role, like play the role of an educator trying to solve this problem. Interview is the one I use the most. A lot of times I'll almost just do interviews saying, hey, before you answer this question, ask me up to 5 questions, one at a time, to help clarify, to make sure we're on the same page with each other. So having to ask you questions is gold. Telling you to ask one at a time is essential, because otherwise it'll just drop a bunch on you all at once and it's a mess. And then T is for task. Like, say, all right, when we're done with all this, here's what I want you to do. Like, be very clear about that. So just giving people a framework to build more robust prompts, I think, has been very helpful too.
Yeah. And one of the things that I've done recently, and this actually relates back to GoodHost. So I was trying to think through, what should the packages and the pricing look like for GoodHost? And how can I make this really simple for nonprofits? Because we have this avalanche of features that we need to sort of fit into a neat framework for nonprofits to be able to sort of pick and choose. And I went on a walk and I used my ChatGPT app and to talk to it. And I was like, all right, ChatGPT, here's the problem I'm trying to solve. I want you to ask me questions one at a time and help me think through this, holistically. And by the time I finished the walk, I had the whole thing done. And I'd said, oh, I talked to him like, well, what should the a la carte prices be? And then I was like, and I'd be like, and compare the a la carte price for the email marketing component to MailChimp's prices beyond the freemium model and Constant Contact. And so it took a second. It's like, oh, well, MailChimp and Constant Contact charge this much, so you should charge this much. Like, great, let's set the price at this. And so like I made all these decisions on the walk real time. And then at the end, I was able to get back and be like, hey, give me the summary of everything we just decided. And he just spit out this beautiful summary. I was like, that's it right there. So I got some sunshine, I got some exercise, I got to walk in, and I set the pricing structure for GoodHost, which was amazing.
I love it. You've mentioned a couple of tools now. What tools are you guys using for AI today and why?
So I'm using ChatGPT personally, mostly because of what Adam just said. I think it's the best one to talk to. It's the most realistic talk. And I spent a long time just talking to it. Heck, I spent a long time just talking to it, just filling in on what's going on. I said, here's GreenMellen, here's the team, here's what Robert does. He has this role. Here's what Emily does. She has this role. And they'll say, all right, now read it back to me, make sure we have it straight, and we'll kind of tighten up. And now when I ask it questions, they'll say, you should do this thing, and Emily could do this part of it, and Robert could do that. And it'll kind of, as it gets to know me, because it has, I think, the best memory still of all of them, and it has the best voices for sure. As a agency, we're using Claude. Not that we're doing a lot of AI-produced content, but Claude just tends to be a better writer, I think, still. And the way they handle projects and voices and stuff, it really works well for that. But so yeah, some Claude, but personally more ChatGPT.
Yeah, and I'm heavy into ChatGPT in general. I use projects for all the different projects and clients and businesses that I'm working within, and so it keeps context there and memory there. But then I can also, like today, I was like, hey, what are my major projects? Like, what are the major things I need to work on this week based on all of my projects and everything else? And I was like, oh, well, you need to think about this for GoodHost and this for this and this for this. And it sort of gave me a pretty quick overview, which was great. The other AI tool that I've been using recently more and more is granola.ai. I know both of you are both familiar with that, but it's a note-taking app. And what I like about it is that it auto-transcribes meetings and then takes notes based on that transcript. So you're not really recording the meeting, you're just getting a transcript of the meeting. And people are somewhat anonymous, which is actually, I think, good and bad. I can't point back to the transcript like, Jeff, you said this, but I do know what was said and what decisions were made. And I find it's a little less invasive than having like a read.ai jump into a meeting. And I can just turn it on the background and not worry about it, which is really nice. So
yeah, mine's recording right now. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I should have been recording on Granola right now. That would have been great.
Well, I do like with Granola too. You can take notes in it. It gives you like a blank notepad. You can take notes, and when it's done, it'll augment your notes with like the AI stuff and leave your stuff bold. It's a cool little tool. Yeah.
Yeah. And in Granola, you can also say like, hey, what major decisions were made this last week across all my projects? And it'll just spit out this kind of.
But for a team, Adam, like if you have a 48 and 48 meeting, you can't tell Granola, hey, what to-dos did Mac have, right? Unless you specifically in the meeting say Mac has this task.
Yeah, it infers that a little bit. And so there are times in Granola where it'll list out, like I can find Mac's to-dos based on, it sort of figures out who's who, and it'll do an okay job of that. It's not as good as it would be with read.ai for sure. For that particular.
It does surprisingly good, but yes, not as good as the ones that are in the meeting.
I was telling Adam, I tried the read.ai mobile app to record an in-person meeting and just let it record. And then, it's like person one at the end, the transcript is like person one, this, person two. But I could go in and like change person one to a name, but it didn't change it all the way through.
Weird.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
ridiculous. I was like,
It's a major
come on,
problem.
guys. But once they
Yeah.
get that done, and granola, I'm sure same thing. You should be able to tell. Okay, so I thought about you guys last night. So I was at State Farm Arena
Okay.
to see Nate
Watching the Hawks,
Bargatze.
you thought, oh man, just like Adam, those Hawks.
Yeah, my
No,
business
yeah.
partner was there too. She said it was
Yeah.
a good show.
It was a great
Okay.
show.
Yep.
And
Nate,
they made
Nate
fun of
Bar-
digital marketing people there too. So yeah,
did they?
the
I don't know
opening
that-
act did. Yeah.
Oh, the opening acts were terrible. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
So
I like
so
it.
Nate Bargatze. So a couple of things on that. First of all, you guys know who he is, obviously.
Yeah,
right?
he's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So I was early on this guy. Like I love stand-up comedy, and I was super
Yeah.
early on this guy. And I went
Yeah.
back to see. This is crazy. In 2014, I was a fan of his, and he was doing small places, and I looked at his website, and he didn't have Atlanta on his schedule. So I emailed through the website and said, "Hey, I hope you come to Atlanta." He emailed me back. Like I have an
Nice.
email from Nate that's like, "We're trying to make it work. I'm talking to my agent." Is that nuts?
That's awesome.
What?
And then
Love
he
that.
sold out State-
2014?
And 11 years later, he sells out State Farm.
I mean,
two
he's
nights in
hosting
a row.
SNL 11 years later. I mean, that's
Yeah.
wild.
Okay, so the reason I thought about you guys is because he does talk about AI in this, and it was really funny. He said he's been using AI a lot more, and his daughter asked him how much she thought horses cost, and he's like, I have no idea how much a horse costs, but he started by talking to random people and asking them what they thought a horse costs, and nobody really knew. But one guy's like, I don't know how much a horse costs, but I'll sell you a chicken for $3. So he's like, okay. So now I know the market for a chicken. He's like, how many chickens could you fit inside a horse? So he came up with 1,000 and thought, okay, $3,000 for a horse. That sounds reasonable. And then he asked AI, how many chickens can you fit inside of a horse? And I will ask you too, if you have a guess better than Nate's.
A guess of how many chickens can fit inside of a horse?
Yeah.
Is this by poundage or by volume?
That's all you have to work on.
Oh man.
Presumably, you just stuff them. Like,
If it's by poundage and not by volume, I mean, I think you could fit.
I guess poundage.
2,500 chickens inside of a horse.
Well, gosh,
That's
I was going to
yeah.
say less than that. I was going to say like 500.
It was like 13,000.
Oh, okay. Well, I was
Yeah,
closer.
alright, yeah.
I win. Woo! 13,000.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Back to our show as we had a momentary break. Okay. So let me ask this. So every day, both of you are utilizing, talking to, partnering with basically ChatGPT. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Most every day for me.
Many times a day for me. Yeah. Many times a day, I would say.
So when you start off, like at least I know Mickey uses Obsidian, like to do the count. You using it as well, Adam, like in the morning to say, here's all the things I have. Okay.
Yeah.
So like, is that part? So basically, to give everyone context, and this is too simple of a way to state it, but Obsidian's like a note taking app that we all use to organize our notes and thoughts and everything. And each day you can go in and kind of write out your calendar for the day and make sure you know what's coming up and prepare. I'm guessing in that process, you're interacting with ChatGPT?
I'm not during that process typically, because that's just a simple, like, here's the calendar, here's what's coming up, that sort of thing. I'm talking to it more in terms of when I need to make strategic decisions, when I need to sort of decide what my priorities are, what my focus should be, or when I need to start creating some strategy or creating some communications. That's kind of where I start to bring it in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same. Yeah. The writing stuff in Obsidian is mostly to force me to type it in my own hands to get it inside my thick skull. So I remember what's going on for the day. Just kind of a reminder of that stuff. Yeah. I'm using it more for bigger stuff. Like the last few weeks, we've done a lot of like vision and purpose kind of work at GreenMellen, trying to figure that out. So it's been a lot of discussions like, all right, here's the document we've been working on. Please like quiz me on it. Help me understand it. Help me unpack this piece. Just conversations about that to get it deeper. Because again, that's the other problem I have now is we have this great stuff we put out and I got to start remembering it also. I have it on top of my head. And how do I use AI and Anki and other tools to help drill that in?
Well, and that brings up another use case, which is like, for example, I'm going to be working with a new client in the near future, and I'm going to be playing a role that I haven't played in a few years, doing some work within an agile development team. And so I'm like, okay, I probably should use I need a few refreshers about like just the terms and things like that. I mean, agile development is relatively straightforward, but you can have ChatGPT basically coach you through anything you want to learn. Like, hey, coach me through the basics of physics, and it'll just start telling you all this stuff. I'm like, oh, well, tell me more about this. I mean, you can sort of create your own learning course within the context of it as well, which is pretty brilliant and pretty fun.
Yeah. So another AI tool I use, I'll wrap this back to what Adam just said, is Readwise. I think you guys both use Readwise as well, but their little AI chatbot they have is fantastic. And I've been using it a lot for things like, I'll say, hey, I finished reading the book, The AI Driven Leader. What are other quotes from other books that tie into pieces in here? And one that it pulled in was David Epstein from his book Range, which is kind of what I was talking about. The quote there is, AI systems are like savants. They need stable structures and narrow worlds. And so that's, I think, a good way, again, to think of it as a thought partner. It's brilliant. It's a savant. It's amazing, but it's also like Rain Man, where it's going to go off the rails and like you can't fully trust it. And I think that's, again, a good point to what Adam's saying. Teach me about physics, but ask me these questions and kind of give it the rails around everything. If you give it the right rails, it's brilliant. But yeah, if you don't, it can just kind of drift and roll.
So you're still, though, it sounds like you're both still using it in specific instances and not sort of just as the partner on your side, on your shoulder, that's just always there and always listening and able to act
I
in real
want
time.
to. I don't think it's there yet.
Yeah, I don't think so. I will say I did just buy the Claude AI tool, which is like that, like voice recorder tool, and you can record live meetings and stuff like that. You can pop it on the back of your phone and record phone calls. And I'm hoping that's going to help me use it like more on the daily. Like, oh, I had this thought, let me record and like all that sort of stuff. We'll see if it works out that way or not. I think it's an interesting tool. It may be gimmicky, but we'll
explain that to me though. Why that instead of just the Granola mobile app? I've been using that for in-person stuff.
Well, I think the Plod thing, the big thing for me is actually the phone calls, if it'll record a phone call, because there are times where I'm on a call with a client or a partner that I'm working with, and they're just spouting off a ton of stuff, and I'm not even like, I'm walking or something. I'm out, and just the ability to capture that will be huge. And I think capturing it I do think there's a benefit to having a dedicated voice recording device, because it's like always ready. I mean, it's literally always there. Tap the button, go, versus like open my phone, pull up the Granola app. Like I think there's some benefit to that too.
Well, it's kind of like the BAI, the wearable thing that Amazon then bought. Same kind of thing where it just recorded 24/7 unless you muted it, and it would just record everything and summarize your day. And yeah, I used that for a little while, and it was super interesting. It wasn't as helpful as it could be, but that's where we're heading for sure.
So I've recently been swapping out a few of my security cameras at the house for Google ones. And I don't know if either of you use Google or any sort of, and what's so funny is it gives you a story of the day at the end of the day. Yeah.
Huh.
So it's using AI now, and it'll go like, the day started off when a man walked his dog at 7:15 to pass the driveway, and the UPS truck came this, and a black car came up, and two people got out, and they walked to the back. I mean, it's like a story of the day. It's so funny.
Huh.
I do have Nest cameras, and I have not seen that.
You might have to upgrade them.
Maybe I need that's probably what I need to do. Yeah, upgrade.
You might look in there in the software. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Okay, so it's not quite there yet, just to like be your all-day Jarvis, just sort of aware of everything. You're still using it very sort of specifically. What are you specifically doing different since reading the book? Because a lot of what we talked about, I feel like we've been trying to do with AI for the last 6 months to a year.
Yeah, the big book thing. I mean, honestly, you can summarize this entire book up into what Mickey said. Interview me to solve this problem. Ask me one question at a time. Like that alone was absolutely game. Because before I would have it ask me questions, but it would give me like a list of 10 questions. I have like one enter, two, and then you kind of lose track. And then it's not asking questions within the context of the answers to the previous questions. Whereas if it's asking you one at a time, it's now learning as it goes to ask you more contextualized questions along the way. So for me, that was the big game changer. The other big game changer, again, what Mickey already said, is just talking to it, like having a chat with it to work out something verbally with myself and help me and force myself to deepen my thinking in certain subjects.
Yeah, similar kind of thing. Again, the idea of a thought partner is just so interesting to me. And I see both of you in that role in my life to a degree. I'll reach out and say, Adam, we need to chat about this for a minute. And I still will do that. But it's nice to say, well, Adam's busy and I don't know what Jeff's doing and Allie's tied up and whatever. But I have this other person I can just, I can just start chatting with ChatGPT and get some answers there. So I like having that role of just someone I can bug to say, hey, here's this idea I have. How crazy is it? What should we do? And it'll have a pretty good idea. And the more I talk to it and the more it learns about me, the better,
So yeah. I had a fascinating, you mentioned that kind of weird thought partners for you. Not long ago, I was debating buying a new computer, and I was talking about it with Mickey, and Mickey's like, Adam, like think about like how much time do you think a new computer will save you on a per week basis? Will it save you an hour a week? And I'm like, sure. What's the value of your time? Whatever. And he's like, well, if you calculate it up, you'd be stupid not to buy a new computer if you can save an hour a week, blah, 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 blah. And like, that was Mickey's argument. So then I'm still struggling because I don't want to spend the money. I hate spending money. So then I'm still struggling. Should I buy this computer? Should I buy this computer? So then I decided I'm going to ask ChatGPT as my thought partner on this. And ChatGPT went down the exact same path. How much time is it going to save you per week? What's the value of your time? So finally, like I got through with that, and I messaged Mickey. I was like, are you ChatGPT? Because that was oddly similar. It was fantastic.
You know what that means? When he's tired of talking to you, he just lets ChatGPT listen.
There you go.
And he just responds.
I mean, that was a bit on Silicon Valley where the AI was just answering one of them randomly. So, that was, that's a good way to go.
These bots are looking good here. Yeah, you can't even tell.
All right. I think my final question is, what is on your AI wish list? Like, what's the next thing you just like, you can't wait for it to come?
I think it's kind of what we already talked about, having that just always there with me, not having to summon it here and there and have it, just better at everything it already does. To be able to use it all the time, to have it better context windows, better memory. Like, it still just does stupid things from time to time. Like, again, I talked through it about my whole team at length, and our developer is Ashley. She spells her name Ashlea, so it looks like Ashlea. And so every time it's like, who's our developer? It's Ashlea. I'm like, no. How do you say her name? I've taught you this. Like, oh yes, sorry, it's Ashley. But then every single time, so there's so many dumb little things like that. Every time I say Ashley, I'm like, no, how do you say her name? Oh, you're right, it's Ashley. I will never do it wrong again. And it does. So just stupid little things to improve that. But then to make it, it's going to be some other device. It may be the new one that Johnny Ive is dreaming up, whatever that thing is, or Plod, or something that's just always there with me, and I can query it, because I think the problem I have, the shortcoming, is I'm not using it enough. And I think the more you use it, the more it knows about you, the better it can respond to things. And then I'd like to see have better integration with email and calendar and all that stuff, because the other side is, you mentioned earlier, if we still do the calendar for that, you can do it, but you know how that goes. It takes it forever to go through. You can set up a agent to do it ahead of time, but I'm looking forward to when I can just say, hey, what's on my calendar? It says, oh, here's the stuff coming up. And I'm like, oh, tell me about that. And just dive into a conversation versus saying, all right, I'm going to go research your calendar. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Like, well, that's what are we doing here? So,
right. Yeah. I think for me, it's, I'm looking forward to the AI personal project manager, because right now it's kind of clunky. I've got my notes, and my notes sort of tie in to Todoist through Zapier, and it's just kind of a little, and I've got projects set up in ChatGPT. And so it's several things in different places that help me manage and organize all the projects that I have going on. I would love for it to all be in one spot. Like, all right, what are the big things for this one thing? Okay, what are the big things for this week across all of my projects? All right, let's dive into, like, basically, I want it to act as if, and I think this is kind of what you're getting to, Mickey, as if there's an assistant with me at all times, and I can just turn to that assistant and go, remind me about this, and it just, boom, immediately knows.
Right.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
We both want AI to take over the world, and that'll be ideal. So, yeah.
All right, good. Did you guys give a rating to this book?
I think I gave it 4 stars. I mean, I think the book was good in the sense that it helped me think more effectively about how I use AI. It also had some great prompts in it. It also had some great frameworks in it. I'd say half the book was amazing. The other half was a leadership book that I didn't sign up for. And so it was fine, but I could have been half as long.
Yeah, so I would agree with that. The middle got very much into just generic leadership stuff. Good stuff, but again, not what we signed up for. I can read other books for that. Robert, our marketing director, wrote a great review of the book on his blog. He did not care for it as much, because mostly he said, here's the problem and here's what's going to happen. He's like, oh, cool. Now tell me what's next. And it's just like, no, but here's another problem. Like, well, no, dig in more. Give me some more prompts. Give me details. It just kind of stayed a little high level, which again, the high level things shifted my mind quite a bit, being a thought partner and all that kind of stuff, but it could have gone deeper for sure, rather than getting into just generic leadership platitudes.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me. As always, I appreciate learning. You between the two of you, I get all my technology and software advice.
Glad to be your personal Blinkist anytime.
Yeah. There you go.
We'll have to do it again. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.